Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. Today, we are going to be going into the importance of education,
Okay.
but with a twist.
Ooh,
So our source material for this is going to be an excerpt titled Importance of Education in Life, Why God Made Us Educated.
all right.
And it claims that education can be both vital and poisonous.
That's interesting.
Yeah, how can something be both necessary and harmful?
Yeah, it is kind of a paradox, right? I mean, because on the one hand, the text really argues that education, it's the bedrock, of personal and societal advancement.
Yeah.
Gives us tools, for critical thinking, problem solving, and contributing to the world.
For sure. I mean, that's like the classic idea of empowering people to like reach their full potential.
Right.
But then how does this same empowering force then become poisonous?
Well, the excerpt points out that knowledge without a moral compass can be a very dangerous thing.
Oh,
I mean, think about like how easily misinformation spreads online.
yeah.
You got people with advanced degrees sharing conspiracy theories.
Right.
Or using, sophisticated language to just kind of mask prejudiced beliefs.
Right.
So education can make someone a more effective manipulator,
Yeah.
not necessarily a better person.
Yeah, that's definitely a sobering thought for sure.
Yeah.
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 Because I think a lot of times we just assume that, education is inherently good.
Yeah.
But then when you look at it historically, like there's a lot of examples where knowledge has been used for like harmful purposes.
Exactly.
Think about like scientific discoveries that then lead to, devastating weapons and stuff.
Exactly. And the excerpts actually highlights this tension
Yeah.
between cunning and morality.
Okay.
With this anecdote about a savvy MBA
Oh.
who uses his education to cheat on his taxes.
Oh, wow.
So he understands the system inside and out,
Right.
but chooses to exploit it for personal gain.
Yeah, it's like classic case of like book smarts don't equal, street smarts.
Right.
Or in this case, ethical behavior.
Right.
Have you ever like encountered anyone in your life where it's like, man, it seems like their education has just made them more devious than ethical?
Oh, yeah. It's definitely something to consider.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And the text kind of connects this idea to a spiritual perspective,
Okay.
suggesting that true morality doesn't come from, textbooks or degrees,
Yeah.
but from a deeper, perhaps divine source.
So it's not just about like what we learn, but like the values that guide us in, how we use that knowledge.
Precisely.
Okay.
And this kind of ties into another intriguing point the text makes,
Okay.
which is this idea that our earnings are actually predetermined by karma.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on. Wait a minute. Are they saying like no matter how much education we get, our financial success is already set?
Not quite. It's more nuanced than that.
Okay.
I mean, they acknowledge that education can open doors and lead to opportunities,
Yeah.
but they also emphasize that true wealth, the kind that transcends material possessions, comes from aligning ourselves with a higher purpose.
Okay.
So the text seems to be saying that there's this spiritual dimension to success
Okay.
that education can help us tap into.
So there's a lot more to this than just getting a good job and making a lot of money.
For sure.
It seems like they're suggesting that education should help us access like something deeper, something more meaningful.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And for the text author, the deeper meaning lies in spiritual knowledge.
Okay.
They argue that education's primary purpose is to equip us to understand and interpret spiritual texts,
Gotcha.
to connect with a higher power.
So they're not like dismissing the, practical benefits of education,
Right.
but they're saying that those benefits should serve like a greater spiritual goal.
Yeah,
Almost like education is a stepping stone to something bigger.
that's a great way to put it.
Okay.
And this actually brings us to another surprising claim in the text,
Okay.
which is the idea that technology, with all of its advancements, is actually a gift from a supreme God.
Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
Are they saying that our smartphones and computers are like divinely inspired?
That's the perspective the text puts forward.
That's a pretty wild concept.
It is.
I mean, do you think there could be a higher power at play behind like these incredible, technological leaps that we've made?
That's what the text is saying.
Okay.
It's challenging us to see technology not just as a product of human ingenuity,
Yeah.
but as something bestowed upon us for a specific purpose.
Okay, so maybe our task then is to like figure out what that purpose is.
Right.
And how to use technology responsibly in a way that aligns with this, spiritual path that the text is laying out.
Exactly.
Okay.
The text urges us to consider how technology can help us connect with that deeper meaning
Yeah.
rather than distract us from it.
This is already so much more than just like a typical conversation about education.
Right.
We're talking about morality and spirituality and even the role of technology in our worlds.
And we're just getting started.
Oh boy.
The text goes on to discuss some fascinating concepts like the yugas, shir, which describe these different epochs in human history,
Yeah.
each with its own spiritual significance.
Okay, yeah, I remember reading about those.
Yeah,
I'm ready to dive deeper.
let's do it.
All right, let's get into it.
It's like they're saying a fancy degree and a big paycheck aren't the only measures of a fulfilling life.
Right.
There's this whole other dimension to consider, this spiritual aspect that goes beyond the material world.
Okay.
They're not saying that education is irrelevant to success.
Right.
I mean, they do acknowledge that, education equips us with skills and knowledge
Yeah.
that can lead to opportunities, but they really urge us to think about the purpose behind our pursuit of education.
Right.
What are we ultimately aiming for?
So it's not just about climbing that corporate ladder or, accumulating possessions, but it's about using our education to like connect with something larger than ourselves.
Exactly. And the text uses a really thought-provoking analogy
Okay.
to illustrate this point.
Right.
They compare the world to a poisonous tree.
A poisonous tree?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm intrigued. How does that relate to education?
Well, think about it. A poisonous tree might have beautiful flowers, luscious fruit,
Okay.
but beneath that appealing exterior lies a dangerous toxin.
Right.
Similarly, education can offer us so much knowledge, skills, opportunities.
Yeah.
But it can also lead us astray if we're not careful.
So the poison represents like the potential for misuse.
Exactly.
The way that education can be, twisted for selfish gain or even harmful purposes.
Precisely. And the text argues that the antidote to this poison lies in spiritual knowledge.
Okay.
It's about using our education to delve into spiritual texts,
Right.
to understand the true purpose of life, and to align our actions with a higher moral compass.
So it's like they're saying that education without a spiritual foundation is incomplete,
Yeah,
potentially even dangerous.
for sure.
It's like having a powerful tool, but without the wisdom to use it responsibly.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And this brings us back to the text's central message.
Okay.
God gifted us with education for a specific reason, to guide us towards spiritual enlightenment.
Okay, so it's not just about, memorizing facts and figures,
Right.
but it's about using our intellect to like seek a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
Right, and this idea is reinforced by their claim that technology, with all of its wonders, is also a divine gift.
Okay, so it's like they're saying that the capacity for innovation, for creating these incredible technological advancements,
Yes.
comes from a source beyond human comprehension.
Yes, and if we accept that premise, it raises some interesting questions about our responsibility in using these gifts wisely.
Right, like are we using technology to like connect with each other, to solve global challenges, to make the world a better place? Or are we using it for selfish gain, for entertainment, for distractions that ultimately lead us further away from that spiritual path that the text is advocating for?
Those are exactly the questions the text is prompting us to consider.
Yeah,
It's not about rejecting technology
right,
or retreating from the modern world,
right.
but it's about using our education, our intellect, and yes, even our technological advancements to move closer to spiritual truth.
Yeah, it's a call to action, right?
It is.
To look beyond the surface, to
Yeah.
question our assumptions about success and purpose,
Absolutely.
and to use our education as a tool for not just personal gain, but for spiritual growth.
That's a great way to sum it up.
It's challenging, but it's also really inspiring.
Absolutely. And it's a powerful reminder that education in its truest form is about so much more than just acquiring knowledge.
Yeah,
It's about transformation, about connecting with something larger than ourselves, about finding our place in the grand scheme of things.
right.
And speaking of the grand scheme of things, the text go on to discuss the concept of yugas, these different epochs in human history.
Yeah, that part really caught my attention. I'm still a bit fuzzy on the details, though. Can you break it down for us?
Of course, the text describes a cycle of 4 yugas: Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dvapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga.
Okay.
Each yuga represents a decline in virtue and spirituality.
So it's like a downward spiral, starting with a golden age of truth and righteousness and ending with, well, what exactly is Kali Yuga like?
Kali Yuga is described as the darkest age marked by conflict materialism and a decline in moral values.
Kind of sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah, I can see some parallels to the world we live in today.
Yeah. But if we're in this dark age, is there any hope for us?
That's where things get interesting. The text suggests that within Kali Yuga, there's a special period called Bhakti Yoga, an era specifically designed for spiritual awakening.
So even though we're surrounded by chaos and negativity, there's still this opportunity for growth and enlightenment.
Exactly. And they believe education plays a crucial role in this process.
Okay.
It's through education that we're able to access spiritual texts, to discern truth from falsehood, to make informed choices about our spiritual path.
It's like education can be a beacon of light in these dark times, guiding us toward a higher understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
That's a great way to put it. But they emphasize that this spiritual knowledge isn't something we can just stumble upon. It requires guidance from a true spiritual master, someone who has already traversed this path and can illuminate the way for others.
So it's not enough to just read books or attend lectures. We need to seek out a mentor, a guide who can help us navigate the complexities of spiritual knowledge.
That's the idea.
Which makes sense, right? I mean, even in secular education, we have teachers and mentors to guide us.
Absolutely. And this idea of seeking guidance connects back to one of the main arguments of the text, the idea that true education is about more than just acquiring information.
Yeah.
It's about transformation, about connecting with something larger than ourselves, about finding our place in the grand scheme of things.
It's a completely different way of looking at education, isn't it?
It is.
It's not just about getting a good job or making a lot of money. It's about using our knowledge and intellect to embark on this incredible spiritual journey.
Exactly. And this journey is available to each and every one of us, regardless of our background or circumstances.
Wow.
All it takes is a willingness to learn to seek guidance and to apply this knowledge in our daily lives.
Yeah, it really is amazing how this text weaves together all these different things, like education, technology, spirituality, destiny
Yeah.
into one cohesive worldview. It's really making me rethink my entire approach to learning and personal growth.
Right? It's like they're painting this grand cosmic picture where everything is interconnected.
Yeah.
Where our choices and actions have ripple effects that extend far beyond our individual lives.
Right.
And a key part of this interconnectedness is this cyclical nature of time.
Okay.
Remember how they talk about those different epochs or yuga?
Yeah.
Each with its own unique spiritual significance.
Yeah, we touched on that earlier, but I'd love to hear more about it. I'm still a little mazy on how these yugas actually work and where we fit into this whole cosmic cycle.
Okay, so picture a wheel turning through time.
Okay.
Each rotation of the wheel represents a cycle of 4 yugas: Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga.
Gotcha.
And each yuga has its own distinct characteristics and spiritual energy.
So it's not just a linear progression of time, it's more like a spiral
Exactly.
with periods of rise and fall, light and darkness.
Exactly. Satya Yuga is described as the golden age, a time of truth, harmony, and spiritual enlightenment.
Okay.
From there, things gradually decline as we move through the other yugas.
Okay.
Treta Yuga sees a decrease in virtue, Dvapara Yuga sees further decline, and finally we reach Kali Yuga.
And Kali Yuga, that's the dark age we're in now, right?
That's right.
The time of conflict, materialism, and spiritual ignorance.
That's right. But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The text claims that within Kali Yuga there's this special period called Bhakti Yud.
Okay.
It's an era within the Dark Age that's specifically designed for spiritual awakening.
Oh, wow. So even though we're surrounded by all this negativity and chaos, there's still this unique opportunity for spiritual growth and enlightenment.
Precisely. It's like a hidden doorway within the darkness.
Wow.
And education, they argue, is the key to finding that doorway.
That makes sense because if Kali Yuga is a time of confusion and misinformation, then education can help us discern truth from falsehood.
Exactly. It equips us with the tools to think critically, to question what we see and hear,
Right.
and to connect with a higher source of knowledge. And the text suggests that this connection often requires guidance from a true spiritual master, someone who has already navigated this path.
Right. So it's not enough to just read books or watch videos about spirituality. We actually need a mentor, someone who can provide personalized guidance and support.
That's the idea, someone who can help us apply these teachings to our own lives and overcome the unique challenges we face in Kali Yuga.
Yeah, it's like having a guide through a dense forest. You could try to find your way out alone, but a guide can help you avoid the pitfalls and find the clearest path.
Perfect analogy. And ultimately, the text suggests that this path leads to spiritual liberation,
Wow.
to freedom from the cycle of birth and death, to transcendence of the material world, and to reunion with the divine source.
Wow, that's a pretty profound goal. It completely reframes the whole purpose of education, right?
It does.
It's not just about getting ahead in the world. It's about using our knowledge and intellect to embark on this incredible spiritual journey.
Absolutely. And it's a journey that's available to all of us. It doesn't matter what your background is, what your beliefs are, or where you are in life. All it takes is a willingness to learn, a desire to grow, and an open mind.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive.
It has.
I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective on the power of education and its potential to like transform our lives. What's the biggest takeaway for you?
I think for me, it's this idea that education is a tool.
Okay,
And like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill.
right.
The text really challenges us to use this tool wisely, to seek knowledge, not just for personal gain,
Yeah.
but for spiritual growth and the betterment of the world.
Yeah, it's a powerful reminder that true education goes far beyond just accumulating information.
Right.
It's about developing our character, our values, and our connection to something larger than ourselves.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And as we wrap up this deep dive, perhaps the most important question to leave you with is this. What are you using your education for?
Yeah.
Is it helping you move closer to your goals, to your purpose, to that sense of deeper meaning we've been talking about?
That's a question worth pondering. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. A huge thank you to our listeners for joining us on this exploration of education, spirituality, and the potential for human transformation. Until next time, keep seeking, keep learning, and keep diving deep.